This is the Voice for Real Estate podcast. Whether you're buying a home, building a home, or designing a home, you'll meet the local experts who can provide all the information you need in every episode of Voice for Real Estate. And be sure to subscribe, share, and comment so you don't miss a single episode of Voice for Real Estate.
You know, every time I start one of these podcasts, I always say I'm excited about the guests. And I got to tell y'all, I'm really excited about talking to Doug Holmes because we're going to talk about real estate in 2020 in the Charleston and East Cooper area. Doug, what word would you use to describe last year's activity?
Well, it was just incredibly good. It was the best we've ever had by a long, long way.
For those who don't know about you, Doug used to be a professor at the College of Charleston. And what department were you in, Doug?
I was a mathematician. I was in the math department.
And Doug has a tremendous passion for crunching the numbers and putting out stats on local Charleston area real estate. How many years have you been doing it, Doug?
2009, I guess, is when I started, somewhere around there, 2008, 2009.
And why I bring this up for our listeners, I want them to know that you really know your stuff. You have a passion for it. I noticed in one of your recent reports about 2020, the last quarter of this year versus 2019, what was it? That was double digits increasing? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, the second half of 2020, the second half was just incredible. You know, we've been selling around maybe 8,000 to 9,000 homes each half of the year, approximately the same. And we sold over 12,000 homes in 2020 in the second half.
That is incredible. And earlier today when we talked, you talked about that you didn't ever think we'd go beyond a certain number. And this year we did in 2020, we did 21,000 transactions, Doug. Is that correct?
Right at 21,000. The last 3 years had been just under 18,000. They were all very similar. And we couldn't quite break 18,000. All of them were just under 18,000 between 17 and 18. And this past year, 2020, we went up to about 21,000. So that's about a 17% increase in the number of transactions. And if you're looking at, the last 3 years being about 18,000 for the whole year, well, we did 12,000 in the second half of 2020. So it's just phenomenal.
Talk to us about the increase of not only is the activity gone up through the roof, but the property's increased in value, no, Doug?
Oh, absolutely. Not only do we have a 17% increase in the number of sales, which is just unbelievable, but we had almost a 9% gain in the median price. The median sales price for the entire Tri-County area last year to 2019 was $280,000. And now we're up to $306,000. That's about a 9% increase. And that's the biggest percentage increase year over year that we've had since like 1998, over 20 some years since we had that big of a percentage jump in median sales price.
And Doug, I noticed that December usually is not a super active time to sell real estate, is it?
No, I mean, it's a very seasonal business. Generally, when the holidays start showing up in November and December, that's when real estate slows down a bit in January and used to be February also. But now the last couple of years, February started to pick up a little bit and January started to pick up a little bit. But November and December are always the worst months because of the holidays.
We had in this December, 2020, it had a double digits, 31% this year over last year in December. Is that correct?
That's correct. December, let me look at my chart here. I've got it on my other computer. Yeah, it was up 31% over last December, and it was up 14% over November. Generally, each month, once you hit September, October is a little less than September. November is a little less than October. December is a little less than November. Each month, the last 4 months of the year, gets slower and slower. Well, this December was 14% more than November. That never happens. We never have December being better than November.
Since this is a Mount Pleasant Magazine podcast, Voice for MP, Doug, let's drill down a little bit, if you don't mind, to east of the Cooper. Can you give us some facts and stats about Daniel Island? We'll start there.
Daniel Island was up 42.4% year over year in the number of transactions. In 2019, had 347 transactions on Daniel Island. This past year, 2020, almost 500 transactions.
So here's a chart that we're looking at right now online so the viewers can see it. But this facts that you just said, that's amazing. That's amazing. You're talking about almost double the number, not quite double, but sizably increased over the previous year.
Almost 50% increase, a 42% increase. That's just phenomenal for Daniel Island.
What about the price range on Daniel Island? How many of those transactions were $1 million homes?
Well, a lot. The median sales price was $785,000. So probably a third of them were over $1 million. And there was a 12% increase in the median sales price from one year to the next.
I've got some more facts online right here, as you can see, about Daniel Island. But I'm sorry, keep going. What were you going to say?
In 2019, it was $700,000, and now it's $785,000. So an $85,000 jump. Let's
go over to the Isle of Palms, Doug. What do you got going over there?
The Isle of Palms saw a 27%, almost a 28% increase in the number of transactions.
You've been crunching these numbers for a long time, Doug. Don't you just find this incredibly unpredictable, number one, but it's also, what is this telling us, Doug?
I don't think anybody expected that this would happen in the middle of a pandemic. Once March rolled around and things started looking ugly, and the number of sales definitely went down in March. And I began to wonder, as I saw the numbers coming in each week, I went, this might be a rehash of 2007 and 2008 when we had the mortgage crisis. But quickly in May and June, I saw the numbers turn back around and go forward, and then exceeded all of my expectations. I never imagined that we would do numbers like we did in 2020.
Well, here on the screen, we've got top10homessold.com. And what the viewers are looking at right now is the top 10 homes on Isle of Palms and Wild Dunes. And many of them, all of them are over $1 million. How many, in that data that you have about Isle of Palms, including Wild Dunes, how many transactions were sold over $1 million? Do you know off the top of your head?
180 homes, units, transactions happened on Isle of Palms in 2020, and the median was over $1 million. So
that's incredible.
Over half of them were over $1 million. I think I looked the other day at Sullivan's Island, and I don't think there was a single home on Sullivan's Island. I don't think there was a single transaction for under $1 million on Sullivan's Island.
Incredible. And as we're talking, the viewers now are looking at the Sullivan's Island top 10 homes for sale. So it's incredible, the prices of these homes and the activity. How many were sold on Sullivan's Island in 2020 versus 2019, Doug?
About the same, a little over 50 in both years. I mean, I think part of the reason, I think we could have sold more homes everywhere. I think we could have sold more homes on the Isle of Palms and Sullivan's Island and Mount Pleasant. But I could have sold homes more in Somerville and everywhere in Charleston if we would have had more inventory.
Correct.
We didn't have enough homes to sell.
Doug, let's move over, if you don't mind, to South Mount Pleasant from Sullivan's Island. And as I do that, the viewers that are watching this on YouTube, they can see the top 10 homes for sale that have sold, in South Mount Pleasant. But can you speak to the volume and the average price and things like that, please?
A 22% increase in the number of transactions year over year in 2020. The median sales price.
What's that number, Doug? Do you have that number?
Almost 1,400 sales.
Okay.
In Mount Pleasant, and just that half of Mount Pleasant.
Right. And then what was the average price?
The average price was $510,000. The median, not the average, but the median was $510,000.
That's incredible.
The prices didn't seem to go up that much as far as the median sales price goes. in the two areas of Mount Pleasant, but the number of transactions was up a lot.
Okay, then let's move up to, if you don't mind, to North Mount Pleasant, which, as we both know, is north of the Isle of Palms connector.
That was up 12% year over year, almost 1,700 transactions.
Oh, wow! And as we're talking, the viewers can see the top 10 homes sold, and they can find it all at www.top10homessold.com. As we look at this, and you and I talked briefly earlier today, what have you surmised why this is happening?
Well, I think a big part of it, and it's happening all over the United States, it's not just Charleston, but to some extent it's happening everywhere in the United States because of the interest rates. People can get a 15-year loan on their house now for 2%. You can get a 30-year loan for around 3 to 3.5%, and that allows the buyer to buy more. So the higher prices don't affect him as much with the lower interest rates. He's okay with the higher prices because with the lower interest rates, he gets the same monthly payment. And that's what the buyers are really concerned about, is how much they can afford on a monthly basis.
When I talk to my realtor friends and my marketing partners inside Mount Pleasant Magazine, the word is that the good majority of these sales, or a good majority, is in fact cash buyers. Is that correct?
Well, I think we have a lot of people coming. I think there's a lot of pandemic moving. I think there's a lot of people moving from the north, and I think there are a lot of people moving from the big cities in California, and they want to get out of the big cities. They see that, a worse problem than we had in 2020. If that occurs, they don't want to be in a big city anymore. And they see Charleston as a smaller city, one with all the conveniences and the amenities of a nice modern city, but not the size that, they're coming from in New York City and LA and places like that. So I think we're seeing a lot of people move to Charleston to get out of those places and come to a better climate and come to a better, smaller city.
Tell us about new construction. Can you give us some insight on that this past year?
Well, I think new construction was very, very important. We need more of it. I don't think the builders kept up and built enough. Otherwise, we would have sold more. But a lot of people have to buy new construction because they can't find it in the older homes because there's just not enough homes for sale. So they reached out to the new home communities and they bought those up as fast as they can. But the builders just don't seem to be able to keep up with the demand. The demand is just so high that nobody can keep up with it. We don't have enough of the pre-owned homes for sale, and we don't have enough of the new construction for sale. But new construction was definitely a big part of the sales over this past year. Yeah,
and when we talk about the East Cooper area, the new construction in North Mount Pleasant was pretty dominating in that area, was it not?
Absolutely. You'll have some areas that, especially North Mount Pleasant, that will be, 50% or more of the sales will be new construction.
And what we've done is we've done a graph for everybody that they can look at here, new sales in Mount Pleasant, all of Mount Pleasant compared to resales. And it's very obvious when you look at this graph that new construction had a big impact on buyers in the Mount Pleasant area. Let's talk about downtown for a second. Is that cool?
Sure. I've had a lot of people asking me a lot about downtown, especially south of the crosstown. That has been a little slow compared to the other areas. It has not been as popular. And I think that's because it's a city. And I think that's part of the pandemic philosophy. People don't want to be in the city. They want to be out in the suburbs or maybe out in the country. So downtown has not done quite as well as the other areas, and the inventory downtown is higher. I was looking the other day, and we have in the entire Tri-County area, I think we have about 450 condos for sale, actively listed.
And I'm putting that up on the screen right now so people can look at it as you're talking.
I think about 150 of them were all downtown, south of the crosstown on the peninsula downtown. That's a third we have 30 MLS areas, and we had a third of our condos are for sale downtown. We have a lot of condominiums and townhomes for sale downtown.
Say that somebody couldn't afford or maybe looking for a second home wasn't $1 million or $500,000. Where would you tell those people to go to, Doug? Where's the best inventory for them?
A lot of people move to Charleston and they can't afford to live on James Island or Mount Pleasant, where the prices are now exceeding $200 a square foot, and a lot of times over $250 a square foot. But they can live in Somerville and buy new construction and buy for $130, $140 a square foot.
That's great.
Used to buy a home pretty much anywhere in the United States for $100 a square foot. You can't quite do that anymore.
That was a long time ago.
125, 130 still exist pretty much everywhere in the United States. And here in Charleston, that exists in the Somerville and Goose Creek areas.
Tell me about SEABROOK.
I live on Johns Island, and SEABROOK is right off of Johns Island next to KIAWAH. And it's just it's astounding what has happened out there this year. There are only 25 active listings on SEABROOK Island right now. And normally they have one of the worst numbers of months of inventory of any of the MLS areas. They have way more homes for sale than they can ever sell. And that's completely the opposite right now. They only have 25 homes actively listed for sale. I had a friend that's a realtor out there, and he put a home on the market yesterday and it went under contract in 3 hours.
Wow,
those are the kind of stories that I remember from 2006 when things were just crazy.
And I heard the KIAWAH had a banner year.
Oh, absolutely. KIAWAH had a fantastic year. Of course, the KIAWAH Island real estate does not participate in our MLS, but we do have many agents that work on KIAWAH and do listings and sales in our MLS, and they had a great year. I'll have to look at that real quick, but let's see. KIAWAH was up 142% in transactions.
And how many of those were $1 million homes?
Well, the median sales price was $828,000, so almost half were over $1 million. Only under 100 sales last year, about 80 last year. And in 2020, there were almost 200.
Something really important, all this information that we've been talking about. I want to know about the Beatles and the Dylan posters behind you. That's more important, I think. So tell me about this. How'd they end up in your world, in your orbit?
Well, they're always looking over my shoulder, as you can see. I've been listening to music for a long time, and so those are my two favorites. So.
Have you ever been to a live concert with either one of them?
Oh, no, I'm not that old, Bill.
Hey, listen, Doug, here's your URL up there that we're putting on the screen right now to let people know. And it's important for everybody to know that this is proprietary information. You only have subscribers that are realtors. Is that correct?
That's correct. The realtors that subscribe to the service can share it with their customers and clients. But they should not be sharing it with other realtors. Realtors need to subscribe to it. And we don't provide this information. I don't provide this information to the public, but the realtors that subscribe to the service can provide it to their customers. We
did a seminar years ago, and we formed a relationship since then. And I appreciate you being a friend of Mount Pleasant Magazine, and I appreciate you being on Voice for MP podcast. This is the second time you were on it, and I truly was excited about bringing you on because 2020 was a year that we'll all remember in real estate.
Absolutely. You've positioned yourself in a good place over there. Mount Pleasant is definitely the most popular place in all of Charleston as far as home buying goes. Their children are very important, and the best schools in all of the Charleston area.
And we're right next to the beaches
in Mount Pleasant. Yeah, so you've got it all. You've got the beaches.
Well, seriously, Doug, thanks for the time. Thanks for the information. And I know our listeners and viewers will get something out of this. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Voice for Real Estate, where you meet local experts who provide timely information in every episode. Be sure to subscribe, share, and comment. Find Voice for Real Estate online at voiceforrealestate.com.